How are you guys?
Great,
Good.
thank
How
you.
are
How are
you?
you?
All right, tired. I'm a New Yorker in LA for a day. It's a whole thing. I don't know what day it is. I forgot this was happening almost. So it's a whole thing.
Sunday.
I'm sure you guys understand that shuttle from place
Of
to
course.
place. Yeah, but I think this is one of the more fascinating films to talk about because I think when you start to describe it to people, you have to kind of pull back and be like, but wait, hang on, because the initial description, you're either really hiding one aspect of it or you're really explaining one aspect of it. And either way, someone's kind of like, well, wait, why? But I imagine when you read it as an actor, you go, oh, well, this is how could I not want to do this? Because this is asking me to kind of play everything that I would want to play in a role, beyond it being someone who, when they direct, it's kind of an event on a smaller scale. So I imagine reading it was very interesting.
Yes, I think the what you said, it's the possibilities for us as actors could be interesting to portray these persons. But
Yeah.
I think for me, the most interesting thing was to change the perspective and how Jonathan wants to create this film.
Yeah.
And sometimes I describe the shoot more like a search, and we were searching for something. We were searching for situations you can believe or imagine, or and not to do a biopic or something. So,
Yeah.
and I really like this. Sometimes he said it's Big Brother in a Nazi house, and I like this because it's my first experience with many cameras at the same time,
Yeah.
observing you and acting without technical interruptions. And I was interested more in this method, or it makes sense to use this method to observe these characters. So, and I think this was, yeah, for me, the door opener, or the key to say yes to this project.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't think that you can tell from the script what this is going to be like. If you read the script, you think like there's not so much of a story there.
Yeah.
So it was really necessary to have these conversations about the approach that Jonathan and his team would have towards this, and that what kind of techniques they would use, and what is the undertone of it, or what does he really want to show or tell, and what does he refuse to show,
Yeah.
all these things. And yeah, that's what we did. So it was not necessarily the script, and I didn't think so much about the possibilities for me as an actor. That didn't come to my mind.
Oh, yeah, because I think depending on who's making it, who's acting it, all the different versions of it, it could be a lot of different things. Because like you're saying, what you choose to show or what you don't choose to show, it is sort of in a way, almost a blank canvas for like, what's your take? What kind of version of the story would you tell? And I think to Jonathan's credit, it's very much well, you come and meet me halfway, and what do you bring to this? What are the actors going to bring to it? What is the viewer going to bring to it? Because I think that's a real choice that not every filmmaker would make, to let us have to do some of the work. And you guys are obviously creating characters that we're fascinated by, but also, you have that remove of, but I know this other thing about them. But the fact that so much of that is the work we have to do is, I think, why after the movie's over, people want to talk about it and why it did so well on the festival circuit. Because it's, you know, the worst compliment you can ever, it's not a compliment, but the worst thing you ever get if you see a film is just go, oh, what's for dinner? Just, you don't address it. You're ready to
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
And it's not possible with this movie.
No. And I think this is great that you have to react to this movie. You have to think about this, and you have a lot of, as an audience, you have a lot of work to do. And I really like that fact. So someone said it's a meditation, or it's, yeah. And I really like that idea that there are a lot of things you have to think about it. And it's strong if a movie.
And it's for everybody, some films have certain target audiences. It's really for every human being, because it's about the basic human questions. How do people treat each other, and why? And how are we related to these people that we see in the film, and what is our responsibility today to not let that happen again.
Oh yeah. And I think the fact that the movie kind of leaves you in that is, it's a credit to you guys as cast members that you're able to be in it with them. But when, you know, when the lights come up, you do have to kind of start thinking like, oh, well, I have thoughts and feelings, and you have to start to process the movie. And you know, not every movie, not every role is like that. I mean, Sandra, you had another movie like that this year at the same time as this at all times. So like, everyone was thinking about your movies, but at the same time, that's not common. Like we're sort of trained not to think about them anymore. And I imagine you get scripts that you guys go like, I don't know, like that's the movie people go, what's for dinner afterwards? And that's
Yeah.
fine, and we need those, but like why would you want to spend the effort? Like it's not easy to do this. It's a great job, it's better than every other job, but why would you invest in something that the end result is, oh, okay, this stays with you? I
Just
imagine.
because of that, it's also an act of love, and everything has its place, you know. And so these things are important too, and sometimes really fun to do it. But this was a really particular work that everybody did on this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you definitely feel that you're like doing something almost for the greater good in a way. It's art. Art is hopefully good for people, but like it does feel like when people watch it, it's sort of like that version of, you don't feel like eat some soup. It'll make you feel something different. You definitely, if you don't feel for humanity after watching it, it's a question about you, not the movie. Like the movie can kind of go like, well, why did that's a question for you. But I mentioned also just making the film, you start to feel differently as you're in the middle of it. Because like you said, you kind of don't know what it's going to be. And then as it starts to form and you go, oh, that's what we're doing. It is that feeling of like, oh, we're doing something that has like, you kind of like sit back and like arch your back a little bit as you make it and go,
Well,
we're
it
doing thing.
it took a lot of trust for each person involved, and especially I think for us to go that way, because of course the 10 monitors in the other house were top secret. You were not supposed to go there and look. I'm not a somebody who looks at the monitor anyway that much, but in this case it was really like, no, never. You should never see what we see. And yeah, it was really special. What did
Yeah.
I want to say? I forgot. I
Hmm.
just forgot it.
No, it was intense because this multi-camera system was new for us, and it was intense at the same time because we're shooting very close to the original camp and very close to the original house, and we're living there for 3 months in this city, and that means a lot, and this is really strong to know that. And sometimes when I was sitting in a cafe at this beautiful marketplace of this little town, and then sometimes I was surprised how easy it is to forget where I am.
Yeah.
And I was shocked about the fact, is it protection or why is it? And this is yeah, that was a really good question to me, to be aware how easy it is to forget or to, yeah. And this is an influence in this working process too, where you are, and yeah, how
I mean, it's easy to forget. And like it's natural to want to forget because it's healthier for your body in the day to day. It's not healthier for you as a person, but I mean, we all, whether you're walking past someone homeless on the street, it's easy to just, you look the other way and you go, well, I've got my own things I'm dealing with, and it's not nearly as important. But that's what I think art can come in, because you're not necessarily going to go and you know, read a history book. You should, but it's harder to do. But a movie, you sit there and you go, okay, for 90 minutes to 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I'm open to other possibilities. And if a movie works, and this one certainly does, you can get something that may change your worldview or remind you, or in this case, very much make you aware of, here's something that happened. It should make you think of things that are happening now. And if you're thinking about that, how does that make you feel? Why do you have maybe a different reaction to this as you did to that? It's kind of the same thing. And I think the fact that it doesn't hammer that, you have to kind of make yourself be aware of that, is why the film is successful the way it is. I think if it told you how to feel more overtly, you'd resist it in a way that why would you have made it in the first place if you're going to meet resistance? It is such a almost gentle poke in the ribs to be like, look, look, look. But the fact that it does and it's so effective, I think it has to be a good feeling, as you guys have had now like 6 months worth of people telling you it works. So I imagine you don't know until really you're done. Like you just hope, you're just trusting in Jonathan.
Yes, it was a big amount of trust that was involved. And that therefore these conversations that we had beforehand were so important to find out what he is up to, what is he really doing, and the transparency that he gave to us as a gift also, that he told us that he would add this sort of sound, that Mika would make this sort of music, that, you know, all these things, even some ideas or things that he thought about how he would like change the pictures in post-production and all these things. So, and also he didn't have like a special, like the final idea of how he would edit all this, if it would work, if the 10 camera system would make any difference in the feel of the film. But it does. Like when you take, for example, the scene where Rudolph is locking the house almost in the beginning, that is something that would never have this effect on people, the smoothness of it, the smoothness of the movement, the music, almost like you said yesterday, that the sounds are making the sounds that Johnny Burns chose for the locks, what they sound like, and what, you know, all these things would never have been possible without this idea. But he didn't know what to do with the material.
No, you never,
so we have to like completely let go and give it to him.
And it's the combined of, he doesn't know what he's going to have until he sees what you guys are doing. So as a collaborative,
yes.
As we wrap up, I think the work does speak for itself, that everyone kind of met in a way of, we're trusting the other person and we're going to see what happens. And I think that's probably the only way you get a film like this. I think if everyone had such a rigid idea, everyone would bounce off against each other, as opposed to when he sat down and started to cut the film going, we made this movie. So I think you guys should be very proud, and I'm very curious to see how the rest of, you know, the audiences do as it opens. But it's work that, you know, it's work that should, you know, play in a theater, but also like should play in school. So that you don't get that every day. So you guys should be